This is creating virtual realities from home. And I'm just going to start a little bit slow here, as always, on Twitch to allow everyone to be able to join. But I did want to get the stream open here for everyone. Um, Welcome to anyone who's coming in from our earlier Arduino workshop today, which I'm sure was great. Can't wait to watch the recording of that, taught by Colin Nichols. Back to back Colin on a Tuesday afternoon if anyone is joining for both of these workshops. But I am going to mute my mic for just a moment here as we allow some people to join, but welcome. All right, looks like had some time for folks to join us here, and welcome to Creating Virtual Realities from Home, our Tuesday afternoon workshop, where we were going to use Mozilla Hubs this afternoon to build a multi-user WebXR scene. If you've been joining for the last couple of these broadcasts, we will break routine. Thanks for the follow there, Julie Rose. We will break routine. We will not do the getting started with the basics of Mozilla Hubs in quite as much detail. We've spent the full 60 minutes kind of going over basic user interfaces and setting up a basic scene in those first couple of weeks in this course, in this workshop series. And those recordings are available on the same page, actually. We have those full, about 1 hour recordings on that topic. And we have two really cool walkthroughs where we've done really basic user interfaces within Mozilla Hubs. And I would encourage you to check those out if that's the pace you want to go along at. We're still going to hit all of those points, but we won't dwell quite as much on some of the finer elements there because you do that resource is there if you want it. Or as always, this is a great way to introduce the link at the bottom of the screen. Which goes to my staff page at the NC State Libraries, and you or anyone watching this broadcast is more than welcome to reach out via email or through the technology consultation form, which is also linked on that page, whereby you can, if you're an NC State kind of community member, my calendar is totally open to you. I'm happy to sit down for an hour or more to talk about the finer points of a project that you're working on. And today we're going to sort of walk through those basic steps of what a consultation like that might look like for a broad kind of experimental project that we'll try out today, where we're going to try to get some multi-user activity into a WebXR scene. We're going to try to do that really quickly in just an hour together. And we will be standing really on the shoulders of Mozilla Hubs is really excellent multi-user social VR platform. And let's check out the Mozilla Hubs homepage for that. And you can see that there are users all over the world now, including increasingly in the last couple of months, a lot of educational settings, a lot of event settings, filling the void that we've seen in event venues and the availability of suitable social spaces, right? And these are getting used in a lot of really cool ways. So just browsing through some of my saved favorite scenes that I like to visit with friends. We're going to make one of these scenes today, and we're going to do it with the explicit goal of a multi-user voting space where we can have kind of anonymous if we choose, or you could have users using their own names, kind of whatever norms you develop for the space that you're inviting users into. You'll control the link that this space is distributed via. So you can avoid things like Zoom bombing. Essentially, it's this is a lot of these because of the capabilities of these spaces at this point. We're thinking a large room on one of these spaces, about 40 people, is what you'll easily be able to handle for most people's internet. Um, and that's that you could get your department members together into a group that size. Maybe you could get a class into that size. That's what really strikes me when I hear that number. But sometimes the one to many or many to many interactions can be really difficult in those kinds of online spaces. So I'm really encouraged by the ability to have 3D avatars who can represent the users in ways that aren't just a text chat box. Sorry, it seems I might be dropping some frames there. I'll slow down for just a moment. Isn't just a text chat box or a um, video stream where one user kind of vocally has to have priority many times. Um, So here in Hubs, we're going to build a space where we can have some of that feedback, I think. So we're going to create a room. And if I was to click that link, it would ask me to use a room that already exists as sort of a template. But maybe the template for what we want to build today doesn't quite exist. So we can instead use their paired tool, Spoke. And this is available at hubs.mozilla.com/spoke. Great time to remind you that on your sidebar, there's a link to go.ncsu.edu/Twitch folder. Um, and there you can follow along. I can see that we have a couple of NC State folks following along in the notes. That's a great place to follow along for things like the highlighted link that I have there, which is going to lead you to the Spoke page. But that is Mozilla hubs.mozilla.com/spoke. Take you to a page like this, and we're going to click Get Started. That's going to take you to a projects page. I don't mind you looking over my shoulder and seeing a lot of the projects I've been working on in Hubs. I think every one of these projects you see on the screen is pretty active right now, and some of them will be exciting to roll out either mostly through the libraries in the coming months. Some really cool stuff that we're going to use this platform for. But today we're going to be starting a new project, and so we will click New Project there, and we want to. What I'm thinking for today is that we're going to build a little bit of a democratic space where, whether or not you're using the built-in voice chat in Hubs, and I think the voice chat in Hubs is very good. It's not as noise canceling as you're probably used to Zoom being, but that's because it's doing spatial sound, and so you can have users with their voice relating to the other users and being heard by the other users in a representative way to represent the space that they're occupying with their avatar. And like at first sounds like, oh, that's a little bit of like hi-fi overboard, right? But it's really effective because you can break users into groups, and you could do the same things that you kind of think of yourself as losing through video chat, like that people inherently are speaking over each other when they are having maybe positive crosstalk in a creative discussion or whatever it may be. You could have them actually the groups move to different parts of the room to where they'll take priority over the other users. This is really exciting from a performing arts standpoint as well, without going too far into that probably. Um, but here, maybe we will either use that built-in voice chat functionality, or else we will use an outside voice system, and we'll see the communication that the avatars can give as being a form of communication. That's kind of something that takes advantage of the platform a little bit. So we'll see how far into that we can get here in the next 50 minutes. So I'm looking probably to take advantage of one of the templates that Hubs has for us here. So I'm gonna leave maybe 60 seconds here. If anyone in either the NC State chat or in the Twitch stream chat sees a scene that's particularly appealing to them out of these templates, I really like the outdoor meetup. I think that's pretty cool. Big open space. Kind of, we want something where all the users will be able to see each other, even though they might be able to essentially spread across the room to go to their preferred location. Moz Atrium I've used before. That's pretty good for this. Got wide open space. I'll kind of walk on water on the surrounded lake. Yeah, so I'm thinking this outdoor meetup might fit our needs pretty well. So let's go with that. And these scenes, these templates that Hubs gives you are often really nice because they've been optimized in a really great way. The scenes themselves are take advantage of assets that are very web friendly. They're often low polygonal. They have a low memory requirement in the like random access memory, graphics random access memory. Um, and so let's take a look through what this scene kind of entails just inherently within itself. So we have this large awning inside this crater space. Now from what I know, let's um let's do a nice little exercise. This is what I usually do when I open up a Hubs template and I'm using something that someone else has made. Is I'll often act as though I'm going to immediately publish the scene. Um, so don't if this is your first time tuning in and watching us work in Hubs, don't worry. We'll hit on what a lot of these panels do. But what I'm going to jump to immediately is I'm going to go up to my hamburger in the top left corner, and I am going to save as and name this voting. That'll remind me what we were doing this to save project. And keep in mind, I may get a little choppy for moments, especially when I'm uploading data, because I am working on the cloud here, and this scene obviously exists on Mozilla's side. So now that that's saved, I'm going to just go ahead and attempt to publish the scene. What this is going to do, I'm not actually going to go through with publishing it. Immediately. Although you could essentially grab one of these templates, throw uh, NC State Library's company retreat on a banner, and use the scene, and it was pretty good, in a lot of these cases. But when we're going to make it more custom than that, say, what I want is the report card, the optimization report card that Hubs gives you before posting anything into the public space. And so this is going to tell us a lot about like essentially the memory budget that we're dealing with for the customization we can make working out of something that's this templatized. So I'm going to click publish to Hubs here. It's great. Save and publish, doesn't really matter there. Okay, cool. So I feel like we've hit on this at the end of some of our previous two streams. I wanted to move it right to the beginning because I think it's a really nice framework for thinking about how WebXR works overall and the limitations that kind of hyper interactivity on the web still has for like 3D graphics and things like that. Um, and these are just like the material priors, kind of. And it's just nice to think about them. So Polygon Count, and these are things that are all pointed out pretty specifically in the Twitch stream documentation for today in the Twitch folder, and that's useful to check. And there's a reason I kind of include them here. So Polygon Count, it's amazing that all the detail we see in there is essentially 10,000 triangles. That's awesome. Mozilla always has really cool optimized 3D models in these scenes. I find this to be the most important of these factors to some degree, and that's this unique material number. I often stretch that and go up as high as 100 before I see a performance hit. But it will really affect what mobile users are seeing. If you'll see a larger and larger drift between what your mobile users see and what your desktop users see as you start to have more materials. It's just kind of becomes more unmanageable. This is something I today want to try to keep really low because I feel like I've stretched it on a few recent projects. But this is one where it's okay at first just to think of this as a magic number that you're getting from this report card, rather than something you might be designing around constantly when you're first using this. Lights, essentially, you can get up to like 3 dynamic lights in a scene, and they can make things look really, really good. And so you want to be very careful and kind of moderate with your usage on them, so that you have them for the spot in your scene that you really want to draw people's eyes towards. And then this is interesting. We're already really close to the 16 megs limit for file size that's going to get loaded into the scene, and this essentially determines your load time. Um, so I want to start with that, and the thing that inspired me to bring that up is this asset that can be very, very heavy in hubs, which we've mentioned in the past couple of these streams, and that is the crater around this awning. So whereas the awning must be hyper efficient if it is canopy, sorry, they call it canopy there. Um, so we can click on canopy in our hierarchy, and this is the list of all of the um, different items that are present in the scene that you're currently looking at. Um, and it includes everything from, the skybox that is as you look out towards unblocked infinity in any direction. What should the user see? That serves as functionally being the sky, right? And that's pretty cool because it's procedural in hubs, and we can change things like upping the luminescence by or lowering luminescence to increase like perceived light, or you can give yourself some really neat sunset effects or dusk effects and things like that. Also includes your directional lights, um, the lights that are lighting the whole scene along a single direction. We're going to talk about spawn points a lot, so I'm not going to talk about them now. Your floor plan is procedurally generated by hubs. It's something that, if you're lucky, you don't have to think about very often, but it's where users should physically be able to stand and walk. And then there's the 3D models and images. Mostly, there's a couple other things that we'll talk about throughout, but everything is essentially one of those two. It's either a 3D model or it's a flat image. There's not really like a secret file format for other than those. So whereas this canopy is Hubs uses the GLB file format as their default for a lot of 3D models, which is great. It's really efficient. It's great for the web. GLTF info. So this whole, structure is 6 megs out of that budget of 15 that we get, and I think that's really good usage. It's pretty cool because there's a lot of like near field detail that you want the users to see that looks really good. But this terrain, which maybe we won't use it much, is 9 megs, and so it's I can sometimes open up these templates and end up just deleting that immediately. But maybe today we could take advantage of it. Today we could have like this big wide open space that could be different options that users could go stand underneath with their avatars to indicate their opinion about a discussion that's happening. Um, and you could have a mic conversation happening that complements this as just another form. I don't know. I find myself when I'm like editing footage or doing any number of like discussions, wanting a way to kind of know as I'm saying it what people think about it on the other side of a phone. And facial expressions maybe serve as this sometimes, and that's maybe why online interactions can really make you want for this kind of tool. But it's a really nice way to think about multi-user interactions, which are like something that's super exciting about going to WebXR, right? That you have this like instantaneous framework for multi-user activity in real time. So I was thinking about things that you might want to vote on, and I couldn't stop thinking about pizza. And I think it's because I skipped lunch for before this stream. But I was thinking we could do a pizza toppings um, voting system where we could have different pizza toppings, and 3D avatars would be able to walk around underneath the topping that they preferred amongst things that were being discussed. What's cool about hubs is you could basically build something like this in real time in a room. Um, without needing to do this template form, and you could just open up any room and have users spawn 3D models of the topping that they preferred, and then just have people go walk underneath the things that they like or leave other items underneath the things they like. So this all might be a little bit of an over-engineered solution to this problem, but it's a really nice case study in terms of just like showing off multi-user ability. And we can talk about avatars a little bit, I was thinking. So we'll do that maybe over the next half hour here. And I figure we can start with building a really like simple version of it. Maybe we can just decide between a couple of toppings. And then we'll go off and we'll look at avatars in hubs, which is something that we haven't really talked about on stream, I don't think, in these last 2 weeks. And something that I find really interesting. There's two tools I really want to show you. Um, and hopefully we'll get to both of them, but we'll get to at least one. So let's go ahead and throw anything in the comments. If you have a super pizza aversion today, if you ate too much pizza at lunch, we can maybe change our plan from there. But unless I see that kind of stop sign, I'm gonna go towards our pizza democracy machine. So let's now take the chance to close up the hierarchy view. We're going to stop looking at this model. We're going to accept things as they are in terms of the scene that we're starting with, and we'll just modify around it. Maybe we'll end up deleting some stuff, but we'll do it along the way. So we have this really nice big empty hall. We maybe don't even really need to use the outdoors as much as I was proposing, but it is just a nice overall scenery. So see, nice. So this Mozilla made that a changeable template. So we'll keep that in mind that we do have the screen where everyone's eyes might go up to, or the billboard, I guess, within the scene is available to us as something that we can easily just swap another image into. So we'll keep that in the back of our mind. And we have all sorts of these spawners. So these are spawn points. There's a bunch of waypoints in here too. So good examples on both sides of that. But these spawners are essentially the door of your scene. This is where users, when they open up the URL to enter the scene, and this is something that you will just get to via a URL, right? Just a thing that's shared with somebody through their preferred browser. And when they go through that URL, they need to enter at some point, kind of go through the vertex of like 2D web experience to this 3D web experience that will run within their browser tab. And so this is where they like are birthed from that process, I guess, depending on what level of like cyber utopian you want to go to or whatever, cyberpunk. So we've got 5 of these spawn points. I think that's probably enough for us. And we have a whole mess of waypoints as well. Oh, cool. So this is seating. So they've got built into that one model, they've got these benches, and these are waypoints that they set up so that you can just essentially have the correct view that corresponds with if somebody was at the front of the space speaking, um, where you would sit down and where it would feel appropriate for your head to be. So let's like align my mouse control up with, we're like looking through, so you can see like that feels like being in the front row versus of a back row thing. So this is like actually a pretty perfect template for what we want to build. So this is nice. And another screen available to us there, which you could actually, I have been to meetups in this template, essentially this template space, and you'll see that get used for slideshows and things like that, which is pretty cool. Neat. So let's start thinking about customization. Oh, these tables are already in here. Okay, that's funny. Let's look at how detailed these tables are. They're small. I don't know if we're going to need those eventually. If we start stretching our memory limits later, maybe that's something we cut. And the seat rows. Oh, interesting. So that is actually a different model. So the floor is not part of the model. Okay, that kind of tricked me even when I looked at it. Neat. But that, and you can see kind of the process I go through. I see something that interests me in the scene. I can double click on it. I think F works too. Yeah. Thought you were. Yeah, there you go. If you click it in the hierarchy, click an item in the hierarchy, and then press F, it'll center your focus on the item if you really can't find it. That's really useful when you're working at a lot of different scales within the same scene, and you're controlling very small things and controlling very large things and switching between them frequently. Um, Neat. So let's add some stuff now. Add stuff before we remove stuff. And we're going to use Google Poly again today. We made heavy use of Google Poly in our last stream, and I think we're going to do that again today. So let's, within this Poly widget in our assets, so reminder that this is our broad assets panel. It has the first one within is elements, which is all the different types of elements is a great word for it. I don't want to replace the technically correct word with a colloquial one. Um, but all of the different real-time elements that you can drop into your scene that you're constructing. One of those is model, which is not that one. One of those is model, and that is responsible for many of the widgets that fall within the assets panel. The one that we're using is Google Poly. It will populate a model with a call out to a web location that stores it, which is like what all these models are really. When you drop, you're either putting like a link to your own hosting location, something on Reticulum, which is what Mozilla uses for their hosting, or something at a some third party hosting location. And so Google Poly is one of those. Um, and just so you know what this site looks like, it's a fully browsable site of its own. You can go to poly.google.com, and it's 3D models. What it really, most of what you'll see there is um, it gets used as it's the built-in repository for Tilt Brush, the 3D Illustrator that is made by Google and is used on in VR quite often. Um, and you'll see people upload their illustrations into Poly. But for our purposes, we're interested in a set of 3D models that were posted by Google early on in Poly's run. And there's these awesome low polygonal models for any number of just like common needs. Um, so just gonna adjust my view a little bit here. Sorry. And yeah, so we'll be able to find all sorts of good pizza ingredients within this. So we have pizza, and you can see this is a very simple 3D model, great for WebVR, very optimized already for us. And if we wanted to, I guess we could use these pizza models pretty extensively. But I think we might just do the toppings as a simpler analogy for me. So I like to browse sometimes within Poly itself. It's just a nice search interface. So the always controversial pineapple will probably factor in. So you can see this 3D model has a URL, a URL location on Poly where it is viewable. And then what this widget serves as is the ability to do that same search in here. And you can see we got the same results. So here's that same model. Let's drop it into our scene. Oh, I like that. I hope Nickelodeon doesn't sue me for that. And you can see what it's linking to is this URL that ends in TZW. And look, it's the same exact thing. So that just shows what this is actually serving as. We see that pineapple in the scene. It has the model icon next to it. It's not a specific Google asset. It's a model that's calling out to the Google repository. So um, we will put our pineapple under the canopy. And let's move on to our next ingredient. If anybody wants to throw ingredients in, I guess how this would work is you would have people propose your ingredients, and then maybe all the ingredients are present in the scene, and people would walk around. Well, if anybody wants to throw pizza ingredients in the chat, always happy to receive them, regardless of what we're working on. I don't know what an onion, maybe, probably a charming 3D model. And look, it comes from Poly. There's a turnip. Uh, I don't know how popular turnip pizza is. Um, got some onions there. Um, hey, put the green pepper there. Frame drop. If you have any pizza ingredients, throw them in the chat, please. Ooh, broccoli. Okay. Okay, so I'm throwing some 3D models in here, and now we get a little bit of range. But let's get a fifth one. I like the veggie theme. We're gonna keep it veggie for sure. Oh, how could I be so stupid? I want a mushroom, but I don't want the like Mario red and white dot mushroom because I don't think you'd ever see that on a pizza. Not like all like portobello or something. Just normal, yeah. Like there's normal and normal. Um, let's see. That's cool. That's just like cute. Hmm. Oh, I like this one best. It also just serves as a nice little awning within the scene. But it's a great example of. Sorry, I'm going to take special care with this one because our others came from Google and we'll cite them as such, but this one came from a human. So I want to make sure I'm getting the citation right. So Philip Layford. I'm over in the notes right now, just noting our assets used. Um, well, can't type and talk at the same time. Probably a skill I'll have to work on. And just creating a link for. Cool. And the rest of those we will cite on publishing because they're built into the Poly widget differently. I think that one should too, but I just want to make sure we catch it. So we can see the difference in scales upon initially bringing these different assets into the scene. And I think the scale of our pineapple was about what I was thinking. The overall scale will look like. So now I'm going to use the scale tool to bring the pepper, the mushrooms, and the onion up to the scale of the rest of to the scale of the mushroom of the broccoli and the pineapple. Um, so I'm going to use that by going to the top left-hand corner of Hubs, and there are three different icons there. In past videos, we've used essentially like guess and check on the scale vector of the properties in the hierarchy. So, we've done that by go to pineapple, see its scale. It's 111, so it's exactly what it came in at. We like that, but it links automatically, so we could type 1.1 into any of those fields, and the other two dimensions will match it by default. And you could just essentially guess and check in the box. And that's what we've done in past videos. You can check out some tips on knowing just what range to be working at and how to get a feel for that. But let's do the more intuitive built-in tool today, which is the scale tool. So I'm just going to use the scale tool and I'm going to go over and focus on the mushroom. So just, don't know, I've lost the mushroom, see? So this is where using your hierarchy is really useful. I'm going to double click mushroom and I've got it in scale. So it's like at a real life mushroom kind of scale. So, yep. See, it's located essentially in the right spot. I'm going to click with the scale selected, this gray box, and start scaling that up. And let's just scale it way up. And you can see it's not origined at exactly 0, 0, 0. So it's just going to drift sort of really high. So this is where you can use your position tool to lower it. And we'll get it. I don't want to grow it or shrink it anymore without knowing what it is relative to everything else. Just lower that. And now double click it again. I brought it too low. And this is maybe a little bit of the different kind of guess and check. But I'm using my green arrow, which is my Y. Hubs is Y up. Um, oh man, and it turns out I grew it plenty. So what do we think? Maybe it needs to be a tenth of the size. So now that we've scaled manually, we can start doing a little bit of ratios in our head. So I'm going to call that 15. So I'll throw 15 into this X field here. Double click. Oh, sorry. Double click. And the drift has happened again. These tricky mushrooms, really. And this is just now. Double clicking, raising, double clicking, raising. Right click to pivot my view. Back out. It's going to be the hardest thing we do today. Is getting this mushroom in place. But we have finally done it. This is a great reminder to all our 3D modelers who make their own assets on why origin points are really important on export. So I'm going to end up having to do that dance again. Okay, let's bring that up just a little bit to 25. Click it, and now we're talking. That's about right to me. When I'm putting things on a wall or onto the ground, I look for as tight a view to the ground as I can get, because you'll be able to know when the intercept happens. You're really, I almost sometimes go below to see the earliest point, that if you can't see the ground, you see mushroom below. But you can always bury things a little bit. Still not big enough. Cool. I think that's notable in a room. Okay, this pepper, let's make it 3 times that size. Let's make it 2.5 times. Yeah, we'll raise it. And if it's not floating, I think it's good. Maybe we'll manually the Y. So we'll move that to about 2.7. 2.67. Yeah. Well, we buried it a little bit, but it's fine. And these onions closer to the party and about 3 times as large. Same thing, about 2.5 times as large. And you can see, I think that intercept concept I was talking about having happen there. If you use your scroll wheel a bunch, and you find you're not at like the right scale for it, but you're in the right position, and you just want to keep scrolling forward, but you've lost your speed and you don't want to like change your settings on your scroll wheel. People who, yeah, you can always look the opposite way, scroll, and this is where people who use the other scroll wheel settings will yell about how. I don't know if they'll yell. They're probably very reasonable people, but they'll point out that you should just change your scroll wheel settings. Okay, we have our onions scaled, we have our broccoli scaled, we have peppers. I think we have a scene that is built for pizza voting. But in case the topic isn't clear enough to everyone, I think we found a great thing to put by our main display. Drop a pizza in there. Always just drop a pizza in there. Spin it so it's appearing to me. One click is going to be too much in the default 90, so it's a new project. It doesn't carry your typical settings over. So even if you've done our last couple of streams with us, you will still need to go up and change the settings at the top of the screen, like 15 degrees. A lot of people just keep it always at 1 degree. It just feels really fluid control. Then our default increments, I wish it offered more less than 0.1, honestly, but I almost always keep it at 0.1. There. Okay. Our pizza structure goes between the rails. I really like that. Uh, if Buckminster Fuller designed a pizza box, that's it right there. Um, Cool. So we've got like a scene where people can walk around and their avatar's position will be able to indicate how they feel about things, or that we could do like a token system where they'll be able to spawn things by the ingredients they like or don't like. I think that's neat. Oh, actually, let's go with that idea. That's really cool. Um, but where would they get their tokens from? Um, so let's use these tables. Um, so I wonder what happens if you search like the number 1. Okay, I think we're gonna run short on time. So let's say red, a checker. Just want something people can pick up and drop off somewhere else. This looks a little high poly for disc. Oh, stupid. Let's Control C, Control V. This thing. I have it there just as a 3D model. This is a cool. Actually, I don't need the control. That makes it harder than it needs to be. I'm going to go up to Elements. I'm going to click Spawner. So we'll let people pick what they want to drop off. There's the hub's rubber ducky. Maybe that's a good voting icon, but do we have cheese? It's a slice of pizza. That's pretty good. So I can right click that and copy its URL, right? And then I go over that spawner and I'm going to change the URL that's present in model URL to that URL. Let's just see how it looks on the table. Spawn at a very different size. It's common if you Is that you say, Colin, why did we use a spawner instead of just using the model function or just bringing it in via poly? Spawners act differently. This is going to infinitely let you pull slices of pizza away from it, and constantly it'll first let you take the 3D model, and it'll feel physically to any sort of control system as if you picked up the 3D model, but then it will immediately replace it and spawn a call to that same URL and put a new one of that model there, which is cool. I'm glad that's like how it handles the action series. Great. I want to fit something else in. So we're gonna do a little avatar creation. We're not gonna. Maybe we won't do the human avatar creator today. I really do want to show that off. It's really cool, but we're gonna use like the try quilt today. So this is called quilt. I'm gonna put my page on it, and then I'm going to put the URL that I just went to in the notes. So tryquilt.io. If anybody wants to follow along, I think this is super cool. If you hang out with me in Hubs, you can make your own custom. Like if you hang out with anyone in Hubs, you can make your custom avatar creator and show up to your meeting with that. But if you hang out with me, definitely show up with your own avatar. I love it. What's cool is you just grab any image. So let's say just throw pizza in. And for this, I'm just looking for something that has some distinct different stuff in the image. Oh, you probably want it to large as well. And okay, this is perfect. So I'm going to save image as. And I want to cite pizza art. There, I'll follow that up with a better image citation. But since I use Hubs, or since I use Firefox rather, my downloaded images are right here. I'm just going to drag this in to this editor, and you immediately are controlling in real time the material, the texture around this avatar, which is just amazing. Like, I think that feedback is so cool. And you essentially see all of the different elements of this robot have a corresponding spot in this editor. And when I move, like, keep your eye maybe on, um, I'll show you that you can, yeah. So we're going to track as these two hearts correspond to that. It's on like the back of their head. And then I'm moving it, and I've moved it like, so it should be like right between their eyes now. And there's just these grids. It might be a little fine for you to see very well, particularly some of the internet issues I think I may have been having during today's stream. Thanks for suffering through that. But you can see how that corresponds. And let's grab one other image from there. Same citation, and drop that in, and you can see it handles two different images at once. So you can like get, like, without really doing very much offline image editing, you can stack these images against each other in cool ways, or like, yeah, it harkens back to some really simple image editors, right? That you're probably the simplest image editor you're used to using is what this will feel like. But pretty cool to be able to uh, make these. So I'm going to export this, and then I'm going to outside of that window. Apologies. Well, let's get one avatar in there. I think that'll be great. So back, and we want to do that. Let's do that in Hubs. So right now, this is a little workaround. I'm opening hubs essentially so that I can access the. Not even going to create a room. I just want to access the avatar editor, which is built in. So this is you just open any hubs room. I'm sure there's somewhere else this links from that I don't need to do this, but it's my typical way I end up doing this. Go up to the hamburger, set your name and avatar. This is how you control how you look in hubs. This is what I was looking like in my last meeting. I'm going to browse avatars and create avatar. I'm sure there's another way to get to that. And it's yeah, here it's not even a stable link, so I would link that. But alas, I'm going to go to base map and go to yeah. So click on base map, and I'm just going to grab the export that I just had from. Yeah, I'll just grab the export that I had from the editor. Yeah, there we go. So you can see it doesn't look the same because I'm not on the same mesh. There's 3 character types, but I'll use the same one we were editing on. There's our pizza fellow. So pizza fella, and save that. And now I can use that anytime. The reason I did that is so that hubs will give a stable URL to that character we just made, right? So we made the texture for it on that editor. We applied the texture within hubs, and then we want to be able to access that as like a character that we can use in the future, right? This is still uploading because we made a big old image. So I URL as something that we can like link to, that other people who don't have that stored in their like hubs account will be able to use. So the way you can do that, I actually just learned this pretty recently, is you can right click on your any of your avatars, and then you can copy link location. And I'll just use this box to show you what that link looks like. And this links to an avatar's domain on hubs, and it got like its own serial essentially on that domain. So this is all pretty inside, but it's a cool trick, and it's definitely something to play with. But I do all of that so that I can come back to the elements, and you don't have to make your own avatar to be able to do this. If there's an avatar that you found anywhere in hubs that someone else has made, you can just get the link to it like that, and then I can use just the simple link function. And these are usually meant to link to other hubs rooms so you can like make multi-roomed buildings. I'll drop that avatar in here. And I'm going to expand that a little bit so people don't miss it when they're in the room because it's going to be cool. But it's going to create a link that people can use our pizza avatar when they're in the room. So I am going to uh, uh, warn you that the stream quality might drop for the next minute or so as I publish the scene to hubs. And then after I do that, we'll open the room up online, and I'll invite anybody who's still watching here, if they want to come buzz around the pizza room with me, they are more than welcome to. But I'll go off mic for just a moment here. This is where we can give our attribution to Philip for the mushroom model, um, and save and publish. And we get to see our report card again. We did really well. We went a little over because of those 3D models against the 16 meg memory file size limit that we had. We went just over on the materials, essentially because of our pizza guy at the end. But this will run great. This means this can run on phones. This can run on VR headsets like the Quest. This will look really good in the Quest because we have only one light. This is pretty much Quest optimized. Yeah, this will all run really well. If you're listening to the stream on your phone, you could still join in. but I'll press publish, and I'll talk a little bit about our workshop series that we have at the libraries, as I understand my voice is like. Uh, this is the third in our Creating Virtual Realities Home workshop series, in which we will continue to play with hubs for the foreseeable future. We think it's a really exciting platform for social spaces and the social web applications to be using, or for individuals to be using. And we're going to keep talking finer and finer detail features that we see through our, as well as through um, really, ability for us to engage in workshop content this avenue. So thanks for tuning in, and there will certainly be more as we go into the fall. All right, and we are uploaded there. Thank you for the follow as well. I am going to follow through to view our scene that we created today. And I'm immediately going to throw this scene into the comments, but this is this first link that I'll drop. Actually, how about this? The first link I'll drop, and I'll drop this into the Twitch stream as well for anyone who wants to join. I'm going to say don't allow virtual reality access. I don't have a VR headset set up right now. Enter the room. So what I'm doing right now is I'm spinning up a room from this template that we built today. Look at the quality of it. It looks really good. And you can see my voice there. I suppose I'll leave my microphone on. That might create some feedback issues for people later. Maybe I'll mute it once people start joining. But I will enter now. And you can see that I entered at the same spot that we talked about as the speaker spot. That's really cool. People would go on the other side of the room to join. And I'm going to click share. I'm going to copy that link, drop that in our stream chat there. Also going to move over and drop that here. And I'm going to make that supersized in our stream notes. So anybody who wants to come hang out, please do. I am going to mute the tab though, so if you say hi to me in the room, I will not hear you. I'm just trying to avoid feedback essentially on my system. But I am going to walk to the other side of the room, and we will check out our pizza avatar. And look at that, we can click the Use Avatar button, and I'll use a camera to look at myself. I'm a pizza guy. Hey, the pizza guy's here. So I could at any point have people walking around. It looks like we got some users. Hello to everybody who's joining and be there as well. So we're hitting the end of our time in today's stream. I just want to show you all this pizza democracy room that we've built. I see that we have a couple people who would join me for the after stream pizza party in this room that we've built together. And I'm going to leave the link to the scene that we actually built in the notes for the stream today as well. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks to everybody who participated and suggested pizza ingredients. And I will see you back here next week. Next week we will be at back in the morning. We'll do actually we'll do a lunchtime. Oh, as if this wasn't food themed enough. Next week we're going to do a lunchtime stream at noon next Tuesday. So sign up online and check us out here on Twitch. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great day. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the pizza room. You can go be a pizza guy on the other side if you'd like. Yeah.